Jerry said go. And we are going and lifting off on a Friday. Ready to talk Michigan with former Michigan football offensive lineman Jerry Diorio, who joins us live on the show. Jerry, it's great to see you. What's going on?
Great to be a Michigan Wolverine, Denny, down here in sunny Orlando, Florida.
Well, that's great. It's been raining up here. It seems like for the last 48 hours with no break. We're going to need an arc around Michigan soon. Hopefully it dries up before the spring game. And I just want to tell everybody on Monday, it can happen where I hit the wrong button or do something wrong. And, and we were supposed to be live on Tuesday, and we're sitting here, and I see people over in the comments saying, hey, we don't see anything from you. And it was going out elsewhere, but it wasn't on hitting on YouTube, and it was not our issue. It was a technical issue elsewhere. So I don't know if that matters to anybody, but I just wanted to tell everyone that. So it's great to have you with us here live if you're out there and taking in the show. I asked Jerry, when he walks around Florida and he's coming up to Michigan, people will see Jerry and they will flag him down and they will ask him, Jerry, how good's Michigan going to be this year? We want to know what he says. Now, this obviously changes. Your opinion can change from here on April the 12th before August the 31st when they kick it off. But we will ask Jerry that question anyways, and I'll answer it, and we'll get some of your feedback out there. How good will Michigan be this year? The spring game, we already mentioned it, April the 20th. That is a week from Saturday. It is upon us. We're almost in game week, if you will, for the spring game. Jerry, we're going to start with, not great news. It's the hockey team. They were in the Frozen Four last night, and they give up a goal in the first minutes to get behind Boston College, and then they gave up 2 in the second period within 45 seconds. And so they entered the third period down 3-0. They gave up a goal 4-0. So the season ends in St. Paul, Minnesota, in the Frozen Four. What's your thoughts on the hockey team season?
Well, first of all, you have to send out a great congratulations to Michigan hockey, the coaching staff, the players. They had a great year, not expected to do nearly as well as they did. And you just have to you look back on a season like this, and it's something to build on. They got to the Frozen Four, and that's a huge accomplishment for this team, and I think the future looks good. I'm watching the game last night, and the first minute or so, Denny, I'm thinking, holy mackerel, Michigan's coming out. They're slapping the ball, slapping the puck around and sending shots on goal, and before you know it, they got a fast break, and we got 3 forwards sitting behind the play, and they hit a 2-on-1 against us, and it seemed like that was the game all night long. It was something that we took our shots and they made us pay for mistakes. And they're a very good hockey team. That was one of the better hockey teams I've seen in a long time. And they look like they play very well together.
Yeah, you could see that speed from the Eagles and that goal that you mentioned, and throughout, those guys were flying. That first line's all going to be in the NHL sooner rather than later. So yeah, it ends abruptly, and the further you go, sometimes the worse it hurts. We all know that when you watch a team, get into tournament play. But I think once you take a step back and you look at Brandon Arado, 2 years, he's been to 2 Big Ten tournament title games, and he's been to 2 Frozen Fours. And, so things are looking good. You don't know when you get a new coach in there, one that is taken over as a head coach for the first time and relatively young. How's he going to do? And after 2 years, you can say he's doing pretty good. So I think you feel pretty good.
2 Frozen Four appearances in 2 years is that's an accomplishment. And I think we've got a good future ahead of us in hockey.
I am with you on that. So we look forward to Michigan hockey in the future. Things are doing good. Nice job by the boys on the ice. Now, Jerry, how's Michigan going to be next year? How good will Michigan football be in 2024, the defending national champs. Jerry, I've talked with enough Michigan football former players, as they say, every Michigan game, every Michigan opponent, they always get the best from their opponent. Michigan's not sneaking up on anybody. I agree with that. I don't think people want to beat Michigan, and Michigan's going to get everybody's best game. Now, on top of that, they're the 3-time Big Ten champs and now the national champs. So I don't know if you can, if you could even be more of a bullseye on you, but Michigan has it when it comes down to that.
You know, Danny, we're going to get everybody's best shot, and we see it in the first few minutes of every game. They're going to come out. They want to play Michigan, especially now with NIL and the transfer portal. What a way to get recognized as a great player and have a lot of value if you perform well against Michigan. So we're always going to get people's best game. We're going to see it right off the bat. I've been looking on YouTube and Twitter and watching some of the comments and stuff, and I'm seeing a lot of people compare Michigan to 2021 LSU from last year. I'm talking. How would Michigan do against 2022 national champion Georgia? So those are some of the better teams that Michigan is getting compared to. I will say this, with all the comparisons, a lot of people thought that Michigan would do very well against those teams because of our defense. With that said, those are two of the best teams that we've seen, at least in the 21st century. We can pretty much agree on that. Michigan, I think, defensively could be better than they have been the last 3 years. With that said, I don't see any offense out there that scares me like the LSU team of 2020-21. Georgia, 2021, 2022. So I feel extremely good about our defensive prospects. Edda, if we can keep him at the edge and a 300-pound edge, that could be scary. That could be scary for a lot of quarterbacks. A lot of quarterbacks could be looking over their left shoulder, wondering where the heck he's coming from, especially when you got Stewart and Morris on the other side. So we have outstanding edge play. Up front in the middle of the field, I don't think you're going to find better. You've got two of the best defensive linemen with Benny coming up right behind him. That's pretty formidable inside tandem there on those two down linemen. Then you add the linebacker from Maryland, Barnum.
Yeah,
and I feel extremely confident on the defensive side, especially with personnel. I love our coaching staff. I'm concerned that they want to do more than they need to do. And so let our kids play, give them the discipline, let them play in the system. And as far as Michigan and personnel next year, I can see our defense being every bit as good as last year's, if not better, and being the best defense in the country. Offensively, I'm going to say this. Orji is a lot of people's favorite, and for a good reason. This kid is spectacular. He's dynamic. He's got a lot to offer, and he's got a lot to do with scaring defenses. Don't sleep on Denigol, especially when people are sitting there talking about Orji being the runner and Denigol being more of a passer. We've seen Denigol complete 4 out of 5 passes this year, 1 for a touchdown against Nebraska. And we've also seen him run the ball for over 11 yards running over a Nebraska defender. Denigol can move. And so quarterback, I think our quarterback is on the roster. If we're looking to expand and improve our quarterback coming out of the spring, I think that spells a problem. I think that spells a huge problem. I do not like going into the fall thinking that a new quarterback is coming into Michigan out of nowhere without any practice from the spring. If Michigan has their quarterback on the roster, in my opinion, I think we've got what we've got, and that's what we're going with. Michigan quarterback is going to be helped by an extremely good offensive line and an extremely good running package. I think our running game next year could be as good as anybody in the country. I think Edwards is going to have a breakout year, and Mullins is going to complement him just fine. Tight end, I think we have the best in the country. And so I have great optimism as far as Michigan football in 2024.
You know, if I was taking a step back and you think, okay, from year to year, why do people think this team's going to be good? And especially the defending national champs, you say, well, what are they bringing back? And, you know, you've mentioned the defense, and there's nobody – if you're going to talk Michigan and you think positively about Michigan, the first thing that's going to come out of your mouth is they got a great defense, maybe the best defense in the country. And I'm not going to argue that. So that's a nice thing to have in your back pocket. That travels, that helps you out. That's going to help a quarterback, an offense, an entire offense, all of that. So, you know, I'm feeling pretty good about that. And then you think about the quarterback position and what you're mentioning and everything that they have to replace offensively. And they've got a really tough schedule. So all of that, I am in a mode where I'm going to have to wait and see on this offensive line. They've got to replace this entire offensive line. They had so many great players last year. And when I look at teams that just say, well, they just reload, you're normally looking at recruiting like he's like, well, that guy had a 5-star. It was certainly a 4-star. I don't know if Michigan's just got all of these super players that are just going to step in and they're just going to reload on offense. So I'm a little bit wary of that and in a wait and see mode with the offensive line. And then with quarterback, I'm going to agree and I'm going to disagree with you. It's worrisome if you have to go into the transfer portal after spring practice. I think that you could even hit the panic button if you're a fan, not if you're, you know, somebody. But also, you know, you go there if you think you can help your team, and there could be situations that we don't know about where they might go there, and you never know who's going to be in there, who's the QB, what's he bring to the table, what's it actually going to mean. It is all something that is going to be determined. So every team you look at and say, all right, well, who's the quarterback? That's such a big deal. And so if they're going, you know, through spring and they don't have one, then yeah, it's a big question mark on this. I think all of that, you know, Jerry, is fun to talk about. I think the good part is that Texas comes in, and if Michigan's able to win that game, they're going to be able to answer all these questions that I'm throwing or anybody else has about the team.
Well, a couple things here I'm going to address. As far as the schedule is concerned, we don't really know how hard the schedule is going to be next year. We don't know much about SC. We know Washington's losing a lot.
Yeah.
Everybody is drooling over Oregon. I don't know why. You know, got nice uniform change-ups and that sort of thing. But, you know, they're losing their quarterback. They're losing their receiver. We don't know what they've got coming back. You know, when you look at last year's schedule, think about those last 6 games and what we had to persevere through to get those wins. We had Penn State on the road, Maryland on the road, Ohio State, Iowa, Alabama and Rose Bowl, and Washington at the end. That's a pretty hefty last 6 games of the year. I don't see a stretch like that on our schedule right now.
Yeah, I'll play schedule a little bit with you. You know, Texas, they got Quinn Ewers, so he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and they're going to be a top 5 team heading into the season. That whether that means, I know that doesn't mean a lot to everyone. It's going to be a tough game. I think that will be a difficult game, but I'm not conceding that one, thinking automatically that Michigan's going to lose it because it is at home, and I like that. You know, think about USC, great offense. I think that Michigan, the physical brand of football they play, I like Michigan a lot against USC. USC's defense, they're a long ways away from being a Big Ten caliber defense. I like Michigan by 20 points right now in that game. But, Jerry, I've watched Michigan go out to the West Coast a lot, as you have over the years. They don't play the same. They don't look like the dominant or whatever kind of team. You go out to Washington or Oregon or UCLA. Those are tough places. That's a tough road trip. Oh, the first game at Washington, it's almost like no matter what they have going out there, a replay of the national championship game, that's going to be a tough game.
Washington's got a lot to replace, Denny, including their head coach.
Yeah,
including their quarterback, including a lot of defensive personnel. So Washington's got a lot to replace. Tough place to play. Hey, I played there, Denny. I played there in 1983.
Okay.
And I got to tell you, it's the only stadium that ever gave me a headache. Now, maybe it was the pounding all game long that gave me the headache, but I always thought it was the crowd noise, because Washington fans can get very, very loud, but they can get very quiet as well too. So, I don't know. I'm waiting and seeing on Washington. I'm waiting and seeing on Oregon. I'm not buying that they're so great with all the losses that they have. I'll take our chances. This year's coming up schedule. We'll see. We'll see how good it is. Texas has got to come here with a new offensive line, a new defensive line, new running backs. Ewers is a great quarterback, but he is going to see something that he has not seen before. The Michigan defense, if Michigan plays it the way they've been playing it for the last 3 years, he's going to look as confused as all the other quarterbacks. Look at how many great quarterbacks Michigan has seen over the last 3 years. And I think he's going to be confused at times. The quarterback position, I'm going to go back to the quarterback position again. Let's not forget Stetson at Georgia and what he was able to accomplish. And I don't think anybody's going to sit there and say he was one of the elite quarterbacks of the time. I mean, he managed the game. He played within his talent. He played with his team's talent. And I think that's what our quarterback is going to be next year. But I think our quarterback, as far as comparing him to Stetson's, got a lot more to offer. All
right. I'm going to do this just one more time. I'm going to ask the same question. And I know I took a long time to answer it, but I'm going to answer it first this time, and then you can add on. How's Michigan going to be in 2024? When people ask me that question, I say that I think that this team could be a contender in the Big Ten, and I think that they can make the new 12-team playoff if they can figure out and get decent quarterback play. That's as simple as I can say it. I like the defense. I think the offensive line, I just talked about that. Like, it's going to be a question mark to me until I see them play Texas. But I do think that this team, with what they have and everything, the schedule, the new coach, the new quarterback, all the different players that they have to put in there on offense, I think that they can contend in this new Big Ten with USC and Washington and Oregon, and you said everything else. But I think that they can get into the 12-team playoff. And so, that's sounds like a 10-2 team as we sit here right now. And I know this, Jerry, if I could go into the Ohio State game with everything on the line, like playing in a Big Ten championship game and having to win that to get into the playoff, I'll take it right now.
Right, Danny. Where do I think Michigan's going to be next year? How good do I think? Right now, we're defending Big Ten and national champions. Why would I think we're not going to be repeating or at least competing for a Big Ten championship? There's no reason. This defense has got a tremendous amount of personnel. The offense has got a tremendous amount of talented personnel. And I'm really excited to see this spring game. I can't wait to get back to Ann Arbor next Friday and Saturday and get a real good look at this team up close and live. And it's going to be fun to see. I can't wait to see it. I'm excited as heck to be there. And what I think we're going to see come out of the spring game is a lot of hungry guys that are getting their chance to start at the University of Michigan. And they're going to be some a lot of competition on that field. There are going to be some people that want to win that game in a big way.
Jerry, here's the question for you, and I'm going to present it to you like this, because there will be a lot of people. People have a point on both sides of this. They say the spring game, you're not going to be able to learn anything. That people make way too much about the spring game. And then there's other people that say, you don't learn anything. You make too much of it. You don't make enough of it. How much are you putting into the spring game? You are able to put it into context and take what's really out there. So where are you landing on, what can you learn from the Michigan spring game 2024?
Well, here's the thing. I understand a lot of people and how they feel that we're not going to know that much coming out of spring game. We're going to hold some stuff back. And remember, these are all new coaches on the defensive side, mostly new coaches on the offensive side. Those coaches are going to want to win just as much as the players are going to win. So, I'm going to compare it to something like me as a high school coach going into a scrimmage. My first inkling is get out of there healthy, safe, and ready to go into the fall. My next thing is don't show anybody anything. The problem with that is, as a competitor, and I get into the scrimmage and I see my vanilla offense not busting something, it gets me going where I'm thinking, okay, I gotta make a stand. I gotta give our kids some confidence. And so now I'm going to throw in some different things that I might not have planned on doing going into the scrimmage, if that makes sense, Denny. Going into a scrimmage as a high school coach, I want safety. I want our kids coming out healthy, and I don't want to show anything. As a competitor, I have opened that up a lot in the scrimmage, thinking that, I think I need my team to feel confident going in to the first game, which was right after the scrimmage. And that's what I think we're going to see in this spring game. We're going to see a thought process of, we want to come out safe, we want to come out healthy, and we don't want to show much. And in the end, I think we're going to see a lot from our game plan from Michigan coaches, because they're going to want to win. They're going to want to win that spring game.
Yeah, I hear you on that. You want to be crisp. Certainly, you don't want to get anybody hurt. You get that. I also think for the people that are like, well, you're not going to be able to figure anything out, that the quarterbacks, we know that there's the ongoing competition. We know that there's even a possibility that they could be looking for their starter after spring is over. To that point is, if a guy goes out there, just, will start out. I don't even know if Jack Tuttle's going to play. That would be something that would be interesting if he's out there and he's available. Let's say he is. Is he throwing the ball? If he goes out there and he doesn't look all that good, to me, that is something. You say, okay, same thing with Denigal and Orgy. People are questioning whether, you talked about Denigal's elusiveness. Others talk about Orgy's accuracy. If Orgy goes out there and he's misfiring, I'm not just going to say, it's just spring game. I'm not going to take anything out of that. There were 14 other practices. They're going to be 60,000 plus at this spring game, and then another couple million watching. That's a little bit different than standing over at Glick, slinging it around with, just 100 and maize blue loyalists over there on the sidelines. That's going to mean something to me, how the quarterbacks play in this game. I'm not, if Orgy comes out and is, 15 for 16, I'm not going to shut the book. Everybody, you're crazy. This guy, but I'm going to say, that's very impressive. Maybe they don't need to go out, but so I'm saying that the quarterbacks are the focus, and I know people go way too high or then they completely dismiss it, but this spring game is about the QBs.
Well, I think there's an argument that can be made for that, Denny. But like I said, I think there's a lot of people fighting for positions. You're looking at 10 offensive linemen on that field that can start. There's 10 offensive linemen out there that are going to be on the blue team and on the white team or the maize team. There's 10 offensive linemen that think, if I have a great spring game, I could come into the fall thinking I'm going to start. So there's going to be a lot of competition out there. There's going to be a lot of people competing for jobs out there. This is not your ordinary scrimmage or spring game. These guys, last year, I just saw somebody make a comment that last year's spring game was a meh. and we won a national championship. I think we're going to see a lot of excitement in this spring game because we got a lot of people that are going to try to answer some questions going into the fall. These guys, and the coaches are going to want to come into the fall with a lot of confidence, and this is where it's coming from, that spring game going into the fall. These players are going to be competing. They're going to be wanting to fight for a job, and they're going to put their best foot forward. It's not like normal. It's not like last year's spring game where we had a lot of people coming back and, people are fighting for second and third positions. No, we got 5 offensive linemen that we have to replace, and they're going to come out ready to smack. And they're going to go against some of the best defensive linemen in the country too. So I got a feeling this spring game is going to tell us a little bit more about Michigan football than people are anticipating.
I love it. I would disagree with the person that said last year's spring game was meh. The thing about spring games, if you don't have competent quarterback play, there's a lot of times you might feel like, wow, we're not getting a read on anybody. But you had Tuttle and you had Davis Warren. Both of those guys have Big Ten arms, and they played the entire game. So you were able to see even the 2s and 3s when it came down to the receivers. Those guys were able to push the ball down the field. I know they turned it over a few times, but I've been at many spring games when you're getting down to the 3rd and 4th string QBs, and these guys, it's pretty obvious that they're, they're just not Big Ten caliber type QBs. Jerry, are you ready to answer some questions?
Absolutely. Let's go.
I'm estimating 60,000 at the spring game. So, Jerry, do you think that is a big crowd? We know that Michigan seats 110,000. So, not, half full.
That's a big crowd. 60,000 people for a spring game in Ann Arbor, Michigan is a big crowd. Don't question about it. I went over last week. I'm staying with it. We're going to see over 60,000 people at the stadium. Might be way off, but I'm going with the over.
Yep. Okay. I like that. John is talking about Tom Brady. Will he be part of the Fox crew for the OSU game this weekend and U of M next weekend? I heard that, but I'm not sure. Jerry, what I've heard about Tom Brady is that, over the last 24 hours, he's open to coming back to be a quarterback in the NFL. He wouldn't be opposed to getting in there late in the season, and a quarterback gets injured, he could jump in. But he is part of the Fox crew. As I did not see that he was going to be making any debuts this weekend or next. What about you?
Well, I see. He hasn't hit 50 yet, so why shouldn't we think he can still play football? The guy is incredible. He's his body, literally, he treats it like a temple. He treats his body well, and he's ready to come back. And he's talking about making that last part of the season entrance if teams are in need. And what better quarterback would you? We talked about this already, I believe. Last year, 60 quarterbacks in the NFL saw action. Okay, why wouldn't you want Tom Brady available? It'd be pretty interesting to see him do the Ohio State spring game and then the Michigan spring game after that, and see if we can get some insight from one of the great minds of all time in football and see what his thoughts are. But I can see him thinking about coming back already.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't come back.
I don't want him to come back, but who are we to say, Denny? The guy has done more in football than anybody else as a player, and I think it's on him.
Yeah, he didn't look very good against playing Tampa's last year. I think he should just hang it up. But hey, it's all just giving our opinions on that. If he came back, I would root for him and hope that he did well. Unless he was going up against the Lions. Here's Mark, who says, as good as any quarterback, any chance a top 10 quarterback starter sees Michigan as a national plug in for an elite quarterback, it's a golden opportunity for some elite quarterback to win the Heisman. Dream on, but Michigan with elite quarterback equals natties, I think is what he's saying. It was over a little bit. You know what he's talking about there?
Well, I think what he's talking about is possibly luring a Manning from Texas who isn't going to get much playing time this year, and a young man that sees an opportunity to be go into a team with the national championship opportunity. That would be one. McCord coming out of Syracuse would be an interesting thought. But other than that, where's the top elite quarterback that's going to tell me they're better than Orji or Denegal or Tuttle? I want to see who this elite quarterback is. It's going to be the saving grace for Michigan football.
Yeah,
I don't know where it is.
Yeah, we don't know. John asking if Rudock came in after the spring, he would take somebody like him in a heartbeat. That is true. Go ahead, Jerry.
Rudock, remind me, is that the young man from Iowa, right? Or is that the young man from Mississippi?
No, that would have been Shea Patterson you're talking about. Jake Rudock came in, and he came in Harbaugh's first year.
Yeah, that was the kid from Iowa. Right. He was the one from – now, let's think about this. Jim Harbaugh is coming in as the new coach in 2015. And, yeah, he sees that there's an opportunity to get this young man from Iowa. He's got experience, and he's looking at the roster at Michigan at that time and didn't have a lot to offer. Yeah, that's something. And we end up going 9-2 that year, going to a nice bowl game, winning that bowl game, and he had a great year. The difference is we have three quarterbacks that have at least 2 years of experience with this coaching staff, with the coaching staff that we have right now. So, Rudock was a special case coming in with a new coach. Yeah, we have a new coach, but he's also got a lot of kids that have proven themselves in practice and can get the job done.
Noah likes Denegal, big guy. John is talking NIL. That's never too far away from our thoughts. He's hoping that it's going to be in order so we don't lose any of our contributors. Yeah, that's right. Keep what you got, and hopefully Michigan's adding. They're probably going to lose some players in the transfer portal, but, you say this from a Michigan standpoint, and for the kids' standpoint, you hope it works out, but hopefully that's because they don't feel like they're going to get the playing time, so they're going to go elsewhere of somewhere else they can play. You don't want to lose them because of NIL, that's for sure. John's saying it's going to be a Hash Bash spring game. Hash Bash was last weekend, but I get what you're saying because it's a 420. I
want to talk about what Tim Leineke is talking about right here. I hope I said the name well. He's talking about Samaj Morgan making a comment about Davis Warren and his rocket arm. Remember, Tim, I'm not sitting here saying anything about any of these other quarterbacks. I saw what I saw last year. That's what I'm going with. I haven't seen much of Davis, and we're going to probably get a good look at him in the spring game. So that would be an interesting thought process. I am going to be interested in seeing some of these other quarterbacks that we haven't mentioned much this year.
Well, the one thing that we saw from Davis Warren last year is he could throw it all over the place. I mean, that's what we saw. He came in, and he's got a Big Ten caliber arm, and that was apparent. That was something in the spring game. And Tuttle, he was around throwing it around the yard as well. And Samaj Morgan and Zeke Berry just did speak with the media. I talked with someone, a former Michigan player who was at practice on Sunday. And I was, I kept asking, what about this guy? What about this guy? And he was like, look, I was not, sitting over there watching it as a, coach. I was just hanging out. Basically, it was what he was doing. But I said, give me something on the quarterbacks. He said, Davis Warren threw the best ball all afternoon. He just threw a deep pass that J.J. McCarthy would have loved. So, hearing Samaj Morgan say that, Davis Warren showed his ability to throw the ball last year at the spring game. Here's John talking about the spring game last year that I disagreed with. D Original. He's looking at the passing game. Can Orji make the right throws? Composure. I'm going to say ding, 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 ding. I'm with you on that, Jerry. Well, we'll be able to tell if the offensive line is gelling. Are you going to be able to? You will be able to tell something more than your average person watching the offensive line. You watch the game a little bit differently as a former offensive lineman, as a former coach. We'll be able to figure out some things with the offensive line.
Well, the nice thing is they're going against two of the best defensive tackles in college football. So how long they play in this game is going to tell us a little bit about our offensive line, a little bit more of our offensive line. If they play a little bit in the game, play a little bit more in the game than expected, we're going to get a real good look at our offensive line and see how good they can be. If they don't, if they just go in for a couple series, we're still going to probably have some questions coming out of the spring game about our offensive line. But I would like to see him go against those defensive linemen in the spring game and see just how good how we match up.
Yep, this is one of these instances. It's nothing against Christopher that people are either way low or way high on the spring game. Christopher saying spring games don't reveal too much. Only thing I can guarantee is Peyton O'Leary will look like Cooper Kupp. Now, he did. Peyton, to his point, Peyton O'Leary looked awesome last year. He was the MVP of the spring game. He was tremendous. But I would just look at it like this, Chris. And, O'Leary, I think, was working through some injuries and never really got the chance on the championship team. That doesn't take away the ability that he showed last spring game. But I would also say that Ben Hall, the true freshman, he was in the spring game, and you could see the kind of running back that he is. There was a little bit. I don't know how much you want to be revealed, Christopher, but there's certain players. Well, Benjamin Hall looks like a pretty good running back. I saw that last year in the spring game. You know what else I saw? I saw Kenneth Grant. He was a question in the offseason whether he was – Kenneth Grant was all over the place. Cam Good, who ended up playing really well, he was all over the place in the spring game. Yep. So, too, was Kenneth Grant. Those are things you can't automatically – Peyton O'Leary, wide receiver 1. I get that part, but there are some things that you can take from a spring game.
Well, think about that, Dan. You just mentioned Kenneth Grant. Who was he going against last year? Well, you got to feel pretty good when he's going against Zenner and Keegan and Nugent in the spring and doing well. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We've got a lot of competition where we're going to see some guys that we haven't seen much of before. They're going against some pretty doggone good company, and we're going to see how good they can be.
Mark, he's talking about accuracy is one thing you can see. I like Aaron. He's honest. He's going to just completely react to whatever happens. And, we're all in the moment. I think we're all going to do that. Aaron, Tim makes a good point. He says JJ didn't even look that good last year in the spring game. That's true. Good point, Tim. That's a nice comeback from, and Cade, I think the year before didn't look so hot. John wants to see the other tight ends do something out there. So there it is.
And I'm looking at some DBs. We've got some questions in the secondary, losing the kind of caliber that we lost in the secondary. So we're going to be I'm going to be looking at the DBs as well. See how we look there. I think we've got some great candidates. I think we've got a great DB room, but we're going to see how we stack up that way.
Tim says, why not talk more about Davis Moore?
Like I said, we're gonna see. He's gonna get a shot. He's gonna get a shot in the spring game, and we're gonna see how he does under fire and in a live situation with pretty crowded attendance.
Yep. All right, we've got a few more. We'll go rapid fire. Jerry, Mark saying most transfer quarterbacks only make a good team very good. Only Penix and Burrows really made a big difference. I hope the quarterback coach earns a big bonus. Are you agreeing with that? That transfer QBs can make a good team very good, but only Penix and Burrow really made a big difference? I would disagree with that. I guess it depends what your big difference is. I mean, we've had
exactly. What are we talking about as far as big difference? Penix was great in the Pac-12. He was fantastic all year. Pac-12 looked great in the semifinal game, and then he saw another Big Ten team and got handed it to him. So
well, Caleb,
I don't know if Penix made such. He made a deal for Washington to get him to the semifinals, but did he put him into an elite class? I don't know if they did. Burrow. What can you say about him? I mean, here Ohio State is loaded at quarterback. He sees the room. He says, I'm going somewhere else, and he hooks up with his teammate now at the Cincinnati Bengals. So, I mean, Burrow is a unique situation where a great quarterback was sitting and didn't see much time and makes the move and makes a good team great.
Yeah, Mark, there's just been a number of quarterbacks. I guess what Penix was a game away from winning the national championship with Washington. Quinn Ewers was a transfer quarterback. He made the college football playoff. Caleb Williams was a transfer quarterback to USC. He won the Heisman Trophy, and he's going to be the number 1 overall pick. Now that's just for himself, and it didn't work for his overall for the team, but they make a big difference. Getting a very good quarterback on the quarterback almost means everything. With Michigan, which is the odd twist, it's actually doesn't have to be the focal point. That's why Michigan, because they run the ball so much and feature a smash offense, they don't necessarily need the Caleb Williams out there to come in. Noah, the 15th, so we're coming right up on the portal opening. Newber remembering last year's spring game when Davis Warren was turning it over. I think we would have heard more about Davis Warren like being in the competition or being in the mix more than just having a stronger arm.
I've heard some good things about Davis Warren coming out of the spring ball. I've heard a lot of good things about him. So, here's his chance. His chance coming up next Saturday, and we'll see how he does.
Yep. Okay, couple more here. Sir Cartier is ready to see if Orji can prove everyone wrong. Yeah, I don't know if he's proven everyone wrong. I think there is a question mark about him throwing the football. And since we don't get to see practice and we do have to rely on, practice reports and, they're here and there and only those are just the people that are monitoring it the closest. So, Michigan has set it up this way where everybody is going to overreact or about whatever they see with Orji, but this is the way it is. But I don't know if he's proving everyone wrong. I think there's a lot of people that think that Alex Orji, I don't know, Jerry, if we had 100 people, Michigan fans, and you said, who's going to be the quarterback next year for Michigan? How many people do you think would say Alex Orji?
90 to 95.
I was not going to say that many, but I was going to say that, the vast majority. I think that they, that's what I would say. I would say would be Alex Orji.
I think that the hype is on Alex Orji. I think it's his job to lose, and I think a lot of people are hoping he's successful and wins it. I want the best young man out there to play it.
That's what I want. I don't care who it is. Ferris, all he can think of when someone says the portal is opening up is the Dr. Pepper commercial. That's where he lets him go. Mm-hmm. He could have had him, but he had the other hand was his Dr. Pepper hand.
He would have lost his whole defense, as he said.
Well, he would have said, look, everybody understood that he didn't grab onto him with both hands. Now, you let the kicker go, but, the quarterback, why not?
Speaking of kickers, Denny, we got a heck of a weapon coming back next year as a punter.
Doman, yeah, I'm with you on that.
That is a huge play. A wise coach once told me the most important play of the game is the punt game, because that is the game. That's the play that can set up yardage differences beyond most plays. And so we got a great punter coming back, and that's another thing that's going to help our defense.
Jerry, after everything that I said about the spring game and everything else, there are players year in and year out, decade after decade, who get a lot of run mentioned, whether it's during spring back practices, whether it's actually performing in the spring game, and then it doesn't actually materialize during the season. And that's what Noah is saying. And let me ask you, Jerry, was it like that back then when you were playing and then all throughout the years? Because, I know myself, I can recall Grady Brooks was just, this outstanding, defensive end that, he was just going to be an All-American. He really didn't see the field a whole lot. So there are a lot of times All-Americans in the spring, but then it doesn't materialize. It doesn't mean O'Leary can't, get into the mix, but, it's just something that has happened over the years.
Well, you got a lot of talent going to be on that field in 2 weeks on that Saturday and in 2 Saturdays. So you got a lot of talent going to be there, and you got a lot of talent that's going to be sitting the bench at Michigan. That's pretty much the reason why some people will leave Michigan. They know they have talent, but they can't crack in to that talent pool at Michigan, and so that's how we lose people.
All right, 2 more here. Austin says that the defense, he says, has been told to throw everything at the offense. And even though we haven't heard any rave reviews, they're getting tested by the best defense in the country. What do you that's not a bad point. I don't know if it's true that they've been told to throw the kitchen sink at these QBs, but it makes sense. Take the jersey off, let them run, get them out there. Let's see what we have here in spring, because we don't know if you have to go to the spring portal and go against the ones and get after them. Well, if you can do it against the Michigan defense, you can do it against anybody. That makes sense, Jerry.
Well, I mean, from what I'm hearing, we did a lot of blitzing this year in spring. What was just said, that Michigan, the defense was told to throw everything at the quarterbacks and make them, they got 15 practices in against the best defense, arguably in the country this year, and with a professional defensive coordinator throwing a ton of blitzes at them. Ooh. So, I mean, these quarterbacks have gotten a good look at some special things in the spring. So I think we got to – I know that coaching staff has got a lot of information about the quarterbacks and where we are with the quarterbacks. They got a lot of information. They were there every day in the spring. They saw those quarterbacks go against that defense. They know how now to create a system for those quarterbacks. So I'm hoping he's right, and I think he is.
Final question from the people is from Ferris, who says, let's not expect Orji this year to equal Milroe from last year. Milroe was amazing last year. Orji does not have to replicate that. I would remind you, Ferris, that Milroe was benched after a game after the Texas. There was another game between, but right after the loss to Texas at home. They won a game, 17-3. Then he was benched. So, he wasn't amazing all year long. He was benched before coming back and really taking off at the end of the season, which included the miracle pass in the Iron Bowl.
That's what's key, Denny. We're going to see one of our biggest tests in game 2 of the season. We're going down. We're going to see the University of Texas come into Ann Arbor. Okay. We have to be ready right now. And our quarterback does not necessarily have to win that game. He's got to manage his team to put us in a position to win that game. And a lot different. Texas went into Alabama, and their defense was caught on their heels a couple times, and Texas made them pay. I'm not thinking that's going to happen in Ann Arbor this year, but we'll see. Quarterback cannot win that game 2. The rest of the team's going to win that game 2, and our quarterback's going to help manage it.
The Vegas Buckeye not very high on his own team, even though with all the stars that they brought in, he says Ohio State will lose at least 3 games this year. So hey,
I said that last year, and he only lost the one and then the bowl game. So
I only care if I wouldn't mind Ohio State being undefeated against taking on Michigan and Michigan going back there and, ruining their season and then Michigan moving on. It's good with me, but that's a long ways away, and we dream about things now. Jerry, great job today. I want to remind people that Jerry, along with Jim Scarcelli, they're going to do some work coming up next week, and you can support them at Bleacher Brother. Jerry and Scar are going to talk some Big Ten football on a podcast coming up next week. So follow Jerry, follow Scar at Bleacher Brother, and you can support the guys there. Jerry, we look forward to your debut over there talking some Big Ten football.
Great opportunity for us, Denny. This is going to be more of a Big Ten show. So we're going to really be looking at Big Ten teams every week and get a real good feel. And hopefully it's going to enhance our scouting report for Maize and Blue Review since we're going to have so much information on these other Big Ten teams.
Sounds good. More information, more entertainment. We certainly like what you do here, Jerry. We look forward to it.
Love being here, Denny.
I'm looking forward to seeing you and shaking your hand at the spring game. So
I can't wait. I can't wait for that, Denny. I'm really looking forward to being back in Ann Arbor. If I was going back to Florida after that, it'd be real nice. But we'll stay. No, we're going back to see the grandkids and everything's good. So yeah, can't wait to be in Ann Arbor next Saturday.
Safe travels. We'll see you at the spring game, Jerry.
Hail to the victors, Denny. We'll see you next Saturday.
And for those of you